Hey everybody, Wendy Klinke with Blue Cat Studio. Welcome to probably our final edition of Lunch and Paint Thursday. We might be able to squeeze one in next week while I'm on travel. So since it is St. Patrick's Day, and I swear I'm wearing green, see, here's my t-shirt to prove it. It's kind of a mushy gray green, but I got a green. Anyway, we're gonna kind of paint a messy sort of sketchbook slash mixed media inspired Shamrock. And I will admit, I don't have a clear vision in mind here. And I think we're just going to really kind of freeform it today and have fun with that. So I hope you're cool with that. And I hope you join me. So the way that we drew this guy in, very, very simply, let me just grab any old brush here and maybe some green paint just so we kind of have an outline. Doesn't even matter. That's sour apple, but I literally have just kind of like the equivalent of some hearts, another one here, and a third one here, and they can be real loose hearts, just so that you kind of figure out like, all right, the freehanding on this guy is not a big deal. And we're doing 3 this time. I think the other day I did a 4 and it was just a little much. All right, so now that we've got that rough outline in place, we kind of know where we're going with this. We're good. Where's my rinse water? You know, I've been walking around the house all afternoon with rinse water and then left it probably on the kitchen counter. So go ahead and offload your brush. I'm going to focus on the background first, but we've at least got that green kind of in place that's marking where our shamrock is. So a couple of things, you know, to have on hand, definitely your paints, your brushes, paper towels, rinse water. I found a couple of these fun things. They're technically for stenciling, but they're perfect little circles, and I'm feeling polka dots. So we're going to get some polka dots going on. Let's hopefully it doesn't get too weird. I'm going to try, you know, not to be too weird. So in terms of background, I'm feeling a little bit of this light blue color. I think we also want a bit of white, maybe some gold. I don't know. We're just playing, right? This is our opportunity to just riff. And then I did say gold, right? If I didn't say gold, I thought gold and thought I said gold, as sometimes happens. All right. So I'm like crowding myself in with all the toys. So let's kind of make a mixy thing here. I'm going to get little bits of blue on my brush and just kind of dry brush. Again, not super worried about the edges because we're going to be doing a whole lot more here, but just kind of getting a bits of kind of blue on the base. And so I'm feeling a little bit more kind of art journaly here rather than formal painting. And I'm hoping that you take this as an opportunity to kind of relax, let loose, play. Let's kind of be something, and maybe even outside your comfort zone. So now I'm just grabbing some white and kind of bringing that across. And again, not super worried about the edges of my shamrock. Perfectly okay to kind of cover them and kind of bleed into them. It's there so that, for reference, both so that I can see it, but also so that you guys out there can see it. And if you're coming on, say hi so I know you're there. Let me know where you're watching from. And of course, my super big news for today is early this morning, my whole thesis team, my graduate thesis team, and I met. We did the final once over on our paper and sent it in. So I am unofficially got my MBA, and sometime next week when I walk across that stage, it'll be official. So I'm pretty excited. Also really relieved and ready to be done. And it was wonderful though, because, you know, I never would have had the courage to start this whole Blue Cat endeavor if it hadn't been for that program. So even though I'm not planning to go, you know, be a consultant or anything, or even really use a whole lot of spreadsheets in the future, it was a pretty fantastic experience and something I've wanted for probably the last 20 years. Oh, Melissa says, this looks like it will be fun. Oh, you're right. You're from the Poconos. And thank you for the congratulations. I'm excited. It's sort of like, I can't believe it's really finally here. Yeah, relieved because, you know, that whole concept of, oh yeah, I've got, you know, a paper to write and I've got this to read and all that other stuff. It just, you know, it starts to wear you down after a while. Okay, so just rinsing my brush real quick. I know I don't often rinse my brush, but I am today. And I'm going to grab a somewhat dirty, what is this thing called? Palette knife. I get into that gold, and I'm just going to kind of start to add some scrapes of gold in here, because, you know, whenever you have a shamrock, gold is a thing. And I would also urge you that if you see what I'm doing, you're like, okay, I think that's an interesting concept, but I do not like the colors you used. Use your own colors. That's sometimes makes this way more fun. Apparently, I did not clear my workspace off well enough. I have things everywhere. Everywhere! Melissa says it's a great accomplishment. Thank you. It feels like it. It was blood, sweat, and tears the last couple weeks. But, and you know, it's great because like coming and going live with you guys and kind of hanging out and chatting and just in general creating art kind of on the side was really helped over the last couple of weeks anytime I got stressed or cranky or whatever. So now we've got a lot of gold here. I'm going to give it a quick blast to dry it a little further. And again, I'm looking at that more as a base coat, so I'm sure there's going to be more layers going on. Why do I have a phone number showing? Oh, hey, great question. Because I always forget to actually mention that if you would like to be notified when I go live, at least once a week, I don't want to spam you guys, so I may not send out texts every single time. But if you want to be notified when I go live, if you text the word live to 855-737-2245, when I'm sending out notifications, you will get one, just in case you don't want to miss them. But if you guys want to get notified of all of the lives, that's good too. You can always, you know, reply back after you've sent the initial one and let me know. Want to be respectful of your privacy and space and all that stuff. But great question. Thank you, Melissa, for asking. Because so I just kind of put that there or shove it out of the way, forget it's there. You know when you have like stuff out and it just kind of starts to look like, looks like furniture, you don't even realize it's there. All right, so this background is super messy. Do I love it yet? No, but that's okay. We make a mess so we can come in and clean it up a little bit. So again, if you are interested in getting notified when I go live, you can just text 855 or the word live, L-I-V-E, to that number there, 855-737-2245. It's still kind of new to me, so I'm learning how to do it. But again, also trying to make sure I don't like spam the heck out of you. So now we have these fun things. These are like daubers. I got them for stenciling, but I'm terrible with sponges and stencils. Terrible. So I'm really kind of more tempted to just use these as polka dotters. So we're going to make polka dots. Melissa says, oh great, I always stumble upon you. I cut out. What do we... Okay, to get all the live notifications, you just text the word live, L-I-V-E, to that phone number. That's all you got to do. All right, just for fun, I'm going to add some gold to that black because I don't want it to be just, oh, you can't see that's off screen. I have some gold and some black. And I'm going to kind of take this size dauber and kind of plop it in. And oops, I guess I'm making some other things too. So when I put it down, I got to spin it a little so I get good coverage. I'm going to kind of spread them out. A couple of polka dots. I'm feeling polka dotty today. This is a gold-black mix. I could stay with one size, but I'm a little bit feeling like I want multi-size. Don't forget to go off the edges. Things look weird when you try and contain it all inside the painting. Okay, I've got a lot of extra there, so I'm just going to go double duty. I have an actual art journal here. I'm just going to offload my polka dots in my art journal and find a way to make use of and love on these later. So I love having an art journal. This is a pretty high quality mixed media one. So sometimes I feel like, wow, that's so weird that I'm offloading, you know, my extra paint into an art journal. But it kind of gives you fodder, food fodder, journal fodder, food for thought, things to play with. Now I need a rinse. I'm gonna get a second. I'll get my second water cup. And what's my name? My name is Wendy Clinky. And of course, we are Blue Cat Studio. All right, there we go. So I rinse that. So you notice I now have 2 rinse waters here. Maybe you don't. These sponges tend to hold a ton of paint. And I just used black, and I just don't want that in my regular paint water. So I always keep a bunch of jars with lids on hand. Okay, let's do a couple of bigger ones. Apparently they've been glitterified as well. So if we just went with the disappearing guy, the little guy, now we're gonna go up a size. So coming back into my thing here. And bloop. Oh, that's kind of fun. So again, always, you gotta twist, otherwise you do not get full coverage and you get these like little bald spots, and nobody likes unintentional bald spots in their paint. Especially when you're trying to, all right, I'm gonna put one here and see how that goes. Just means I have to paint over it. I think these big guys want to kind of creep off the page a little bit. That's fun. I like it. Here, we'll make a slightly bigger one. And again, I went like right over my Shamrock, which you can only kind of see right now, right? And Melissa says, you always have 2 cups, one for light paint and one for dark. Me too. Well, actually not me too, but that's really good thinking. But when I end up using black and a lot of dark, then I do end up getting more paint or more paint water out. Well, the other day I was painting with quinacridone and I straight up stuck it in my coffee cup. I have not done that in a long time. I was like, man, I must be tired. So again, I'm just offloading in my journal. I'm already feeling like these look like shiny, fun, happy polka dots in my journal. That's going to be a cute page when we're done with it. Rinsing this little spongy sponge. And of course, they retain a ton of water too. Ugh, gross. It might be stained as long as it's not crusty. I just don't want crusty. Ugh. Dribbles on my paper, no biggie. I need like a whole roll of stuff for this. Oh shoot, I did that and then I shoved it right back in the water like a dummy. Okay, let's try that again. Now let's go for a small one. I'm thinking like a cute little guy, and I need a little smidge more paint. And so for this one, again, because we're going journal style, the beauty of journal style is you can really just kind of riff and play, and you don't have to have, you can have an idea in mind, but chances are it's not necessarily going to get there, or it's not going to be quite there. It's going to go its own way. And so I'm really feeling that like urge to just play today. So I knew I wanted polka dots. And so I went for the mad hunt for these. And I love the idea of like multiple sizes. Again, a few coming off the edges. These ones fill in kind of the gaps really nicely. And it's sort of a gold-black combo. It's a way of kind of getting that black and white look with a little bit of randomosity. I'm gonna cover a couple of the edges of this, but again, we'll tidy that up. I've got a lot of little dots in this zone. That's okay though. And, oh, we want one right here. You know, I think I was halfway through a thought and I sort of petered out. I apologize. I tried to take a nap earlier and it just didn't work. My brain was like, oh, and what about this? And what about this? And you got this paint party and it's like, okay, fine, we'll get back up. No nap for you. We'll rinse that guy. Melissa says you always use covered cups on your, yeah, when you have drinks on your table. That's really smart. I mean, my stuff usually looks really, really different, but I think it was like I had my coffee cup smack in the middle and I was kind of like messing around in here and like my water things were off to the sides and I just was like, bloop. Luckily, I noticed, I mean, it was just the dregs, so it wasn't a big deal. But I'm not so good with covered cups. All right, let's move these guys out of the way. They're a little stained, and I'm going to give it a quick blast too. That way we just don't end up smudging that black anywhere, because we really don't need the black anywhere we haven't asked it to be. Today I'm just drinking tea. You know what's so fun about art is it always starts off so rough. This one's starting off a little rough, but I do love the polka dots. Now what I'm kind of wondering is, do we then take that same concept of polka dots and repeat even smaller ones inside? I don't really know. We'll figure that out when we get there. Okay, so I'm feeling some dark green and some light green. Well, not dark green, but festive green. We'll put a little squeeze of festive green on the palette. I'm just using a paper plate today. And I guess we'll go with a large round brush and just start to kind of fill some of this in. So obviously we can kind of, here I'll grab a little bit of white to help cover that. So anytime you've got a dark color you need to cover, sometimes whatever covering color you want to use mixed with white will really get you pretty far in terms of a sort of a good base coat for coverage. So I can come through here and just kind of hit all those little partial shamrock bits. And while it's not full coverage this round, the next round will help a lot, just because I've got that kind of green and white mixed together. You'll kind of never know that I had to paint over. At least that's the plan. And while I don't necessarily like that slightly lightened cooled green, it's a perfect way to coat it. Oh, and one more spot here. And since I'm painting actually in my sketchbook, and this is paper versus canvas, all the paint dries a whole lot faster, so it does make it a lot easier to work with. All right, so now we'll just come in and slap some of this green in here. All right, so my plan is to go mixed media. So far, I appear to be just sticking to plain old whatever, but I've got my oil pastels out and ready just in case. Oh, I'm sure I've got like stencils somewhere. Maybe we can do some little stenciling patterns. I don't know. What do you guys think? Just feel like kind of playing today. And the beauty of this is, even if it turns out a little bit weird, you can always just, you know, give it a rest, come back to it, add something. So whenever I do more art journaling type stuff, I try to take the pressure off and take the expectation off. Like, hey, I don't have to have a fully finished piece. I can just kind of be in progress and take a break and come back, and, you know, just kind of let my intuition guide my way. And while that's hard at times and scary at times, and sometimes you just come up with nothing, it's a really wonderful practice. Practice being the key word, because it takes practice. All right. So now we've kind of got the green coming back in. Oops. Apparently I grabbed a smidge of black in there. So we'll just kind of use some of that black in the center. That greeny, blacky gold bit. And I know. So if you paint with me a lot, I often am like, oh, I hate using black, except for when I want black polka dots or stripes or whatever. Okay. Just a little darkness here. We'll bring a little bit more of that blackish green, since my colors started to mix on the underside. So we're getting just a little shape here now. Offloading my brush. I don't want that funky green black on my other art journal, so I'm just gonna offload on a junk paper. Rinse the brush, and let's give it a quick blast. This way we can continue to lay down color on dry surfaces. Many of you know this, but it's always worth repeating. You know, if you just keep adding wet paint on top of wet paint, you either get mud or you start pulling off those other layers, the base layers of paint, and you never really get a solid coating, or you end up with bald spots. Oh, Chrissy says, hey girl, I love the black and gold background. Thank you. I was feeling polka dotty. And look, I had the offload in my art journal, and I'm kind of like, oh my God, I love those. I don't know what idea, I don't know what that's going to turn into, but I'm kind of excited. Okay, so if you are doing art journaling or if you're fairly new to this, I'm coming to really love oil pastels because they have amazing coverage. But once you put them on, like, you have to be careful, because if you get like your paint pens in them, it'll ruin them or it'll kind of stop them and leave some residue. And a lot of this other paint doesn't really stick to it. So I tend to leave that for last. But sometimes when you feel like you've got a lot of coverage of paint and you want to just pop some color on, and paint won't do it, or you are struggling getting the paint to do it, oil pastels are like, they're just cool. So I'm gonna see, is this too big? How's this for size? Oh, so I have this kind of honeycomb stencil. I'm going to grab a brush of some sort. You know, honestly, I really love, okay, so I'm horrible with stencils, but I love them anyways. I have a chip brush. I just painted it gold. But then I also, if you look at a standard chip brush, like the kind you would buy from wherever, they tend to have these like really frizzy, you know, tapered ends. I literally just took scissors and went snip, snip, snip. So now I have like a nice flat surface, and that's pretty good for just light stenciling. Also, my favorite stenciling material is in fact gesso. I don't see any gesso in my reach. So I'm just going to create like we're going to go with a kind of a yellow-green type color. I'm going to pour the yellow-green kind of right here next to the remains of my white. I might need more white, we'll see. Just kind of work it in a little bit like so. So a little bit of white is going to help this with coverage, or help with coverage. And then I'm kind of offloading the paint because we want the paint to be out on the bristles. I'm just going to kind of jam dab it. And a few spots there. So I don't know if we want this pattern everywhere, but you see how I'm kind of going up and down, up and down. So I'm allowing the stencil to kind of mask. But if you put a ton of paint on and smush it around everywhere, it ends up just bleeding through. So that's kind of fun. I like that. I seem to have misplaced my bubble wrap, or you know what, I actually used all my art bubble wrap to wrap my stuff packing this house up. So now we're just gonna grab other random stencils. Here's a fun one. I think that'll be pretty. I think I can maybe grab a little bit of, ooh, maybe some of that teal. There we go. Just kind of grabbing whatever I can off my palette. I'm just filling in. And so the beauty is I don't have to do the whole stencil. I can just kind of pick some spots to add a little pattern to the inside of each of these bits and pieces. And we'll look through here and see if we can find another one. Ooh, that's kind of fun. What I'm really looking for is interesting patterns. Now I would like a little bit more masking on that, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. So I'm going to grab some sweet mint. Any kind of it's kind of a greenish teal. I'm going to put it, well, let's see, shake, squeeze, come on, there we go. And I'm going to kind of work it right into a part of my yellow-green. And I don't mind that my colors are sort of all over the place either. And this one, because I got a little extra paint on my bristles, I'm really going to be careful about the up and down dab. Oh, Christine, I've been so busy like looking down, doing my thing. You said I love those too. I don't know what you said you love those too, because I'm a little out to lunch right now. But you said you like the stencil. I'm so glad. I do love stenciling. Okay. So this one again, because it's a big square, I don't want it to look like a square. So I kind of created a round section in the middle. Now I obviously had a lot of paint because it has bled through, and that's okay. Because again, this is just kind of mixed media messing. But if you really don't like it, whoops, you can always grab a like a skewer or a stick, and I can kind of come through here and kind of scratch up some of the bits and ends there where this got to be a little extra. I mean, it still shows, but it just gives it a little tidier look. All right, so we can set the stencil aside, or we can keep going with that stencil and repeat a little bit of that pattern. So I think maybe a little bit of this guy might be fun to gently just place a little bit over here. I use lick my finger a little bit and see if I can lift some of that paint from my polka dots, because I think I like those polka dots. I think I really like those polka dots. And then we could take, actually, I really am liking this one. It almost reminds me of like geometric giraffe skin. So I'm gonna put some over here, coming back in, grabbing a little bit more of that. I'm gonna see if I can avoid some of my edges here and just kind of get a little bit. And again, just adding pattern, keeping it interesting. Just little kisses of stencil, kisses of interesting something or other. And we can always sort of add more oomph back into our polka dots and whatnot. Hey there, Sharon, good to see you. Oh, Christy, it was the polka dots in my journal with, yeah, didn't that turn out like unexpectedly cool? That was just me offloading paint, but I kind of love it. All right, so this is I think I got this on Amazon. It's just some random big multi-pack mix of stencils. This one's an interesting pattern. I'll try and squeeze a little bit of that in, kind of just right in here. Should give me a couple of fun parallel lines. Maybe I can squeeze a little bit in right in here. I'm really, you know what? This Sweet Mint, I am really loving this color, although it has blended in with the yellow-green citron type color. But there, ooh, that's fun. That just adds a little interest. Okay, we're gonna add some here on top of our shamrock too. Why? I don't know, because we can. And that is the beauty of doing, you know, kind of mixed media art journaling. It's really an opportunity to play, to try stuff, to get outside your comfort zone. I mean, it always makes me uncomfortable because I feel like, I don't know, are you results driven? I'm results driven. I want it to turn out right. I want it to be like awesome. And sometimes forcing that like control freak, that's me, I'm talking about myself, control freak mentality out the window and allowing yourself to go with the flow is just such a cathartic, wonderful exercise. But it can be tough, right? It can be really tough. Okay, so we've used the stencils. We're gonna blast it again. So we're just really riffing on the theme of a shamrock. I feel like it's paint pen time. I'm sure I could paint some actual things some more, and I may do that in a little while. But I want to add something with some paint pens. Where'd I put, oh, it's right here. I got like all these gajillion tubs floating around. So here's my tub Poscas. Okay, so I do want to make sure it's pretty close to dry. This is not a Posca, but it's still pretty cool. It's a Artistro paint pen. And I think I could kind of, you know, do some like little lines around some of my big polka dots. And if we decide we don't like it, well, that's okay. We learned. I think it kind of gives them a little definition, a little pop, kind of whimsy. And notice I'm not doing a bang up amazing job of outlining. I'm just kind of drawing little circles almost inside. And experimenting like this is so important because sometimes you stumble across a weird combination or concept that you wouldn't have really thought of. And then it can be a very powerful and effective thing to roll into one of your designs or into one of your ideas. Okay, so actually I kind of like that. I think that works. But I do want some color here. I want red. but I don't want the red to be overpowering. So I think I'm going to add a couple of like red stripes, almost like hatching. And then I can kind of cross hatch some of them just in a few spots. And the idea is that we're adding pattern. Maybe I'll kind of repeat that down here to a lesser degree with just a few little crossy hatches. And the idea is we want to sort of infuse some color in this, some interest, so that as you get up close, you're like, ooh, what did I just see? But then we could also, and I feel like ooh, okay. So here's where I'm like, oh, but I could do this, and I could do this. I'm gonna do a little red underneath here. And I like the red, it's a complementary color. And so in some ways it helps sort of augment the concept of the shadow in there. You could probably put a little bit of red in some of these if we want. You could even circle one if you felt like it. And oh, was it Cassie asked me for some triangles, so I'm going to add some triangles. And that wasn't today she asked me for it. It was another day, but I'm going to honor that, and I'm going to do some triangles. Because the other day I was doing this whole art journal sketch, and she's like, how come you didn't do any triangles? I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't think of it. And I'm just going to add some triangles, and now it feels very 1990s, doesn't it? It's like my 1990s teal and magenta ski suit. I'm going to be kind to my thing. It's looking a little unhappy there. So then, let's see, I'm looking at some blues. Let's see, how's this blue? That looks interesting. So I can add a blue kind of outline, but I'm not going outline. I'm kind of an inline outline. Adding some color here to keep it interesting. And then maybe we kind of go inside one of these pieces here, and you just sketch a little bit, add some color. You can make it fully solid, partially solid, slightly holy. You can do maybe a couple of the ones that are connecting, but not all. I like doing that shape kind of inside because I still get that pop of the yellowy green, which is kind of fun. Do another one here. And maybe we just kind of allow that blue to only happen in a few spots. Or I can double the outline on this guy to add a little bit more. And I do love the paint pens because you can kind of get sloppy with your outlining. You can kind of be inside, kind of outside of your shape, and it still works. Gives it almost like an illustrator sort of look. And so I think in these places where I've got the dots kind of coming right up against the painting, the little extra helps to kind of set it up. So now coming through, what color do we need? Maybe some orange. Always thinking about like colors that are bright. So what does this orange do? That's sort of a reddy orange. I don't know about that one. Oh, but orange is part of the flag. I have these two oranges. What is this one versus that one? It's slightly more tangerine, but not as tangerine as advertised. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna do kind of jiggle in here. I want to get back with paint. I'm really feeling more paint again. And I want some magenta or some pink. We'll grab some pink here. Why not? Bubblegum pink. But I think I'm going to give it a little spike of hot pinks. If you can see those two pinks, we have a very cool pink and a screaming hot. I'm going to kind of take those and make a hybrid. There we go. We're going to add some dots in this area. So by adding some of these patterns, we do lose a little bit of the feel of the polka dots, but it's also kind of fun to just keep adding color. And again, we're playing, and this may not turn out amazing, and that's okay. You may have better ideas for what to do. Oh, I think that needs a little white. This is very thin, or maybe just more of that. Nah, the pink doesn't want to go on very thick. Okay, so we got to kind of keep it in the over wherever there's white stuff here. But then I could even do like a funny little zigzag shape over here for no particular reason. Maybe a little loop here, almost like a part of a rainbow. Oops. Just lift and paint. Give it a little blast. Where's my blaster go? Every time I put it down somewhere else like a crazy person. Now, to give this guy a little oomph, as I was drying, I just sort of thought, oh, hey, wouldn't that be fun if kind of put a little pink kind of in the corners, not on it, but just kind of in between it. Again, the pink is more or less a complement of that green, especially, yeah. This section here doesn't work so well. That's okay. We'll come back. We'll fix it. We'll tweak it. We'll find a thing. So it's getting busy. It's getting weird. You know, again, there's no promises that this is going to turn out amazing, but it is still a really great opportunity to play. And that pink is so beautiful. I'm going to offload it into my polka dot journal over here. Rinse my brush a little. Where'd my paper towel go? Oh, I keep dropping stuff, you guys. I'd like to bring in some yellow. I want to amp this section. A little ampy yellow here. Again, there's a little bit of going over what we've done. So I feel like right now I've got a cacophony, which, yeah, I'm sure you see that too. I'm going to tone that triangle a little bit. And so offload that guy. Keep drying things because I don't want everything to smush together unless I ask it to smush together. And I think we're going to bring a little bit more of that green back in. So kind of a little bit here blending in with our yellow. So then we kind of, you know, we lose some of that honeycomb. You can also kind of massage it a little bit or smudge with your finger to just liven it up a little. A little bit in here. A little bit here. Sometimes it's like really neat when you see little layers of stuff kind of peeking out and happening. And so if I use my finger to go over some of this, I can even, in some ways, it's almost like I dye the stenciling just a lighter color so that it blends a little bit better. Doesn't stand out quite as much, but it's still visually there. If you can see that, where it's just kind of turning a lovely, somewhat brilliant green. But still quite visible. And yeah, that little yellow in here was a little extra, so I'm going to kind of tone it back a smidge. Okay, rinsing my brush. Oops, I forgot to offload. Well, probably because I covered my entire offloading thing and there's no room to do that. So now that I look at this, I think that the pink is almost dry. I'm going to tone it down a bit and I'm going to use this thing, palette knife, to do that. But first, we dry. Because I don't really want it to smudge too much. So grabbing more white, kind of work it onto my palette knife, and then kind of come through and add more texture. Again, we are doing a lot of covering up of what we've just done. It's okay. And I tell you, when I watch other people do art like this, I find myself yelling at the video, like, why did you do that? That was the best part. And so if you're feeling that way too, it's okay. Like, you might be right. And we still will find a way to kind of bring it back to where we wanted it. So that pink was, I like it, and I like it peeking through, but it was a little over the top. And a few little scrapes of the white across the shamrock are kind of fun, just for extra texture. Oops, dragging little bits of pink in there too. This yellow is much. But now that I've kind of covered it, I can then come in with my little skewer and kind of scratch some stuff into it. Have to be careful though, because this is sketchbook. If I have anything that's overly covered that is still wet, I can come back in and kind of scratch in. So this circle here can kind of bring some black lines through that white by scratching. This section's mostly dry. Here I got a little bit. Ooh, I'm going to write the word love in that little chunk. Because you could do that too, right? You can have multiple layers of paint and you can kind of scratch shapes, designs, whatevers. So I have this kind of fun thing happening here. Little bits of the, ooh, I like that. And then I can scratch this guy back in. I'm going to give it a quick blast. But I do like, actually, oddly, how this background is shaping up. You know, at first it was very stark, but up close it's now kind of gotten some interesting textures, some interesting things happening. I'll come in with some bleu. Lovely sound, thank you very much. Ultramarine blue, an absolute favorite here. I'm gonna go with a smaller brush. I'm gonna grab a small round brush. Ta-da! Little bits here and there. Kind of re-add a little. So I liked the blue paint pen that we kind of had going on. It's fading a little into the into the background. I was going to say distance difference, but none of those were quite the right word. So adding these bits of this really intense cobalt ultramarine blue kind of helps bring this guy back. A little something in the center here to kind of help with that definition, almost like making little V's. And then just going to kind of smudge a little in this zone here, smudge a little here, create. I'm kind of tempted to do a framing effect, but I don't think I want to do too much, so maybe just stick my finger in and bring a little just kind of along the edge. Messy. It's messy. Let's see if I can make a few scrapes in there. A little bit more in this zone here. Smudge, smudge, smudge. Be a little bit of white so that we get this kind of in between, or maybe more white. Gesso would also be nice here, but again, I couldn't remember where I put my gesso. Got something strange happening here that I'm not 100% fan of. Good, another blast again. This is just so that I can come over with different layers. Now, once you start working with like an oil pastel or any kind of, even a water-soluble crayon, like the Coranda, I can't pronounce it, or the other things, like the, I forget what they're called. Anything that's got a little bit of waxy something, you really don't want to use a heat gun because it's just going to get all melty, funky, weird, and it's melty, funky, weird. Okay, so if you squint at this, I mean, sometimes we got to kind of balance a little up, a little down. I'm going to bring some of the pink kind of in this zone here. That yellow was scratching a little. Not too much, but just little kisses of pink. Again, we're going messy, we're playing. We're not necessarily following the rules, which is fun. Okay, so taking, again, I'm with my palette, my knife, and maybe even just scraping or gently rubbing along the edge. And that just helps me slightly tone the edge of the thing to help create a little framing. All right, so this section here feels a little weak to me. We can do like a chop marks. Ooh, I like that. Okay. So I've kept the green fairly simple. Well, not really fairly simple. It's a green and then a bunch of weird stuff on top. But I've got a lot of really great greens in the oil pastel zone. And so I can add a lot of that in after. I just have to get a lot of the paint kind of where I want it first. Now again, you can do oil pastel first and then do acrylic over the top. And then, you know, there's some really neat effects with that as well. All right, so oil pastels. I've got Crayola and I've got the Artist Loft ones. So here's a nice dark green. We can add some dark green in there. And you can kind of do a little smudging. So you can have a little crayon-y look, and then you can also kind of smudge if you like, and you can kind of have a mishmash of both. So adding some, oops, hold still. Let's see if I can, sometimes this lighter green doesn't necessarily do what I want it to. So we can maybe bring some of that green out in some zones over here. That's still wet. Let me blast that before I go too far without getting it on my wax stuff. This one's a little yellowy orange in here too. Little bits of orange kind of around the outside to give it a little life. Maybe even a scribble. I can bring some of these circly bits back too, kind of come back and say, hey, we have some neat circles going on here, or partial. Ooh, I believe this is a gorgeous magenta-y color. Gonna bring that guy back. And then maybe add a little extra in here. Now we've kind of got a dark, interesting something going on in here, and then it's again, I'm trying to, oops, I want this to stay mostly green, but I also just really want to play with other colors kind of in the vicinity. Ooh, a navy could be fun. Navy's a neat color. This is a sort of a pale minty color that almost goes with kind of what we were working with before in this area. I've covered up most of that. I've lost most of the pattern in there, which is, that's mostly okay. Some of that pattern was really cool, but no use crying over spilled milk. It's gone now. So I can come back in and reinforce some of these circles with a little bit of the black, if I like. I really like circles. There's something quite cool about them. Maybe on this one, smudge it a little because it's kind of half covered over. I do like that look. We've lost some of these polka dots. Maybe we'll kind of bring them back with just a little smudgy smudge. It's almost like the little dots on a monarch's tail. You guys know that? Like the boy monarchs have like these two dots on their tails. It's kind of cool. So again, it's kind of gotten a little wild and crazy here. And you know, if you're looking at it like, what is she doing? That's okay. And sometimes you have to pause and say, all right, it got a little out of control. How do we tone it down? How do we bring it back? And sometimes that's just a matter of, honestly, I'd really rather use gesso. My gesso went for a little trip of its own. I don't know where that is. So here I want to tone this down a little. I can bring just a touch of the stuff over the top of it if I like to kind of just mellow it out. In some cases that's almost too much. So it does get a little funky messy here. It really does. But it does feel good to play. And the paint doesn't really like to stick to that oil pastel. I'm going to come back and get a little bit more of that stripy bit in that we had. Okay. So I'm just pausing for a minute to look, to assess, to kind of, you know, think where are we at? What do we need to do? I'm going to attempt a little bit. I think this is bluegrass green. Yeah, bluegrass green. So it's a very bluish green, but it's still technically in the green spectrum. So we're kind of painting a rainbow here. Give it like a really interesting multicolored green. Kind of how I scratched the word love in here into the paint earlier with my little skewer. It looks cool. It's really hard to see, which is nice because, you know, for the most part you won't see it, but it's there. Okay, I gotta tell you, I feel like that bluegrass brought this guy together. It toned down some of the too dark zones, it toned down some of the too bright zones, and it sort of pulls the blue in. So now I feel like it's so funny. Like I felt like I was struggling, and now that just it's gelling. And so sometimes you just gotta play But it does, it gives that in between, because you have the cobalt or the ultramarine, same really, almost. And then this bright green, and you need almost something in between to kind of allow the brain to kind of catch up, keep up, all that stuff. And then I can kind of smudge a little in here so the oil pastel and the paint are kind of blending together in that section. Plus we've got little bits of the white paint peeking through, little stuff going on. I feel like I want to just call this guy good real soon. Might just finger paint a little in a few spots here along the edges. Not too much, but a few bits kind of help frame it and pull it all together. Maybe a little dot inside, a couple of these. Yeah. Okay, we don't want to be even. This guy wants a yellow dot. Yes, he does. Whoopsie. Okay. All right. Well, that was a crazy exploration in color. I think I'm actually oddly fairly satisfied with this. Again, things got, it's fair to say it got a little weird. Oh, it's missing. We want a little bit of this teal kind of stepping it, or bluegrass. This is bluegrass. It is greener than mermaid tail, which of course many of you know are like my all-time fave that we just can't stop using. A little smidge of, I'll see a yellowy green in here. We'll mix one. Yeah, it's greener than mermaid tail teal. Yeah, that kind of pops that to life. Then this pink, it just adds a little bit of vibrancy to it. Okay, obviously I can't paint and think and talk at the same time. So this was kind of mixed media, light abstract plus Shamrock. Happy St. Patrick's Day. If you haven't already, go ahead and post a picture of yourself in your green if you're wearing some. Does anybody do those whole leprechaun things? I keep hearing about these leprechaun traps. We never did that as a kid, and I'm like, what is this? I'm so glad that I didn't accidentally screw things up for my kids by not knowing about it. All right. Okay, you guys, it's been fun. I will see you on the next one. I can't wait to see your crazy version of the Shamrock, but I hope you have fun and get wild and colorful and play and experiment and outside your comfort zone, because you know what it does? It carves new paths in your brain, and in some ways, while it can be a little bit hair-raising when it's not working, there's also something relaxing and freeing where your brain just goes, I give up, and it just goes with it. So hopefully you can get a little piece of that. It just goes with it as well. And I will see you guys on the next one. So let's see, next week is going to be a little crazy. I'm traveling to Monterey to graduate and also to visit my mom as we prepare to consolidate 2 homes from both Boise, Idaho and Montclair, Virginia, here in Virginia. I'll bring some art supplies, so we might be doing some quick, easy lives from wherever it is I happen to be, hotel rooms, guest rooms, whatever. So yeah, I will see you guys. I'll see you guys next week, I hope. And if nothing else, I'll try and pre-record something to pop up if I can't be live. All right. See y'all soon. Have a great rest of your day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye.